All right. So, first and foremost, how are we doing? Welcome to Office Hours for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Just wanted to go over the analysis, actually, of a narrative argument. So, if you haven't already done so, in Blackboard, it's actually going to be the second announcement down because I want to make sure the page analysis stays as the top announcement, mitigate any confusion there. But the announcement there, second from the top, is AP Lang Office Hours 6.3. So go ahead and make a copy of that document and save it in the narrative argument folder in your drive if you have not already done so. So go ahead and pause and open that up. Make a copy for yourself and save it in the narrative argument folder in your drive if you haven't done so yet. So once you do get it open, you're going to see this. It's kind of like a mock rhetorical analysis prompt, but the prompt is, or the passage is a narrative argument that a young woman wrote for her English class. So let's go ahead and take a read through. Below is a young woman's reflection on her experiences with a particular allergic reaction and the aftermath thereof. The piece was also adapted for a college application, but it was first a response to an open prompt for a high school English language arts class. Read through the essay and analyze the rhetorical choices the young woman makes to form a narrative argument about who she is and how she arrived at such values. Now there's kind of the clue about what the solid narrative argument is about, is it does have to reveal a little bit about yourself, specifically your values. What do you care about? What do you prize above all else? Okay? So go ahead and read through and annotate for unique choices in her language and the effects thereof. What does it do for the entire piece? Okay? So go ahead, pause. I would say take no more than 8 minutes, right? Just to kind of keep it, quick and concise. And again, the reason we're doing this is because I want you to see some of the moves that it takes to write, in this case, a quality montage narrative argument. We talked briefly about the ways you could structure your narrative argument, and it could be one event that you make an entire narrative out of, or it could be several events that you sort of pastiche together as a montage of a consistent value throughout, right? Or how a value has developed based on these various experiences. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead, pause, and then annotate for 4, maybe 5 unique rhetorical choices and the effects thereof. All right, welcome back. So again, your annotations may differ from my own, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I noticed, what made this particularly effective, and maybe even a few points that she could improve upon. All right, so first off, I hope you were as gripped by this opening as I was, because this sort of graphic imagery of illness, physical illness specifically, that's in response to an allergic reaction, it really does imbue this sense of danger, sort of submission, again, bowing down to a porcelain god, and weakness. Obviously we don't like those feelings. We definitely don't want to feel that right at the outset of a reading piece, and we don't want her to be feeling these things, especially how sympathetic she makes us feel when she mentions that she was 5 years old when this happened, right? The other part that I pointed out is she uses this impressionistic language, and what impressionistic language is it's a tangible, concrete description of what's happening in the moment without saying, oh, I was sick, right? She goes right into the concrete symptoms, right? And what that does is it keeps us trapped in that moment with her, right? And that's part of her point. She wants us to feel as trapped as she was. So she includes this anaphylactic. She includes this impressionistic language around her anaphylactic shock so that we are just as scared and clueless as she was. Okay? So that's that sort of beginning portion, is where she begins this realization that her body, unfortunately, can sabotage itself. In fact, she highlights the irony here, which, in a way, conveys even more despair and almost like futility. Like, how could she improve upon this? And while we hope things get better, unfortunately, they don't. You know, she moves on. How even 5 years later, the same feelings persist to the point where she can't even eat at a party. She feels so anxious and so worried. So again, she leads us along to make us go, God, well, what did you do? How did you fix it? Right? So she makes us kind of beg for this finish. How does it change for her? This is the point where a lot of people kind of miss. They go on and on and on with the trials and tribulations of their lives, and it becomes a sob story. It becomes a pity party, right? That's not the point of a narrative argument. Obviously, take us through the trauma, but you got to get us to the other side. There are too many times where people will write their narrative argument, and gosh, I would never want to talk to this person about this experience ever again because it's just a nonstop pity party. But what this student does in particular is right here. She immediately, right after that, takes us to, okay, here's how I started to develop a particular idea or a particular value out of this terrible circumstance. So she's beginning to kind of move us along into, all right, this was terrible. Get us to what this matters about you now. And that's what she took very seriously is, okay, I've been through this horrendous traumatic circumstance. What does it mean for me now? So at the time, she highlights that she was visiting these allergy specialists, and it starts to become apparent to her, right? This is sort of the beginning of the climax, if you will. Now, right here, there's a clear statement of the value, and it's to reduce suffering in others, in this case specifically the pain of anaphylactic shock. This is where the climax really comes to fruition, is because she mentions, all right, I've gone from pain to now that epiphany of what I want to do with this pain. What does this pain mean for me, and why do I care about it as much as I do? How is it valid to me as a person? So she moves into the present, right? How has she acted on this value? Well, she took this community college course, or just a nearby college campus, my fault. But it demonstrates how the value has still stayed with her. Okay, it wasn't just a one-off situation where she goes, oh, I'm 10 years old and I think I want to be an allergy specialist. The end, right? So she really dives into what matters to her. Now, I will say, if you even just look at this, right here, these 3 paragraphs are where she goes into the value and the solution. There's a little bit too much of an imbalance on, these, as great as they are, as great as the details are, this whole stretch here could be shortened, right? To maybe half a sentence, one sentence, okay? Something to the effect of, 10 minutes prior, a waitress had told my mom that the pad thai soup didn't have peanuts. Unfortunately, it did. I rushed to the restroom to throw up, and then it rejoins to the present. It's just way too long in terms of kind of the narrative of what was happening there. And as great as this point is here, there could even be a little bit more concision there as well. There's just a little bit of an imbalance in terms of the problem compared to what she gleaned out of the experience. Ideally, you're a little bit more imbalanced towards this end of what does it mean for you now? Why do you care about it so much? Tell us about you now, all right? But nonetheless, again, it's a quality piece. It works, right? It reveals how not only she values her own safety, but she also is valuing the safety of others, the feelings of others, right? She reveals that by taking us through her own difficult, traumatic experience, and then instead of pouting about it, she takes us to what does it mean for her? what did it do for her as a person? And what it did is it created a career aspiration for herself, right? In terms of based around her values of, well, not undermining, but, curing or mitigating anaphylactic shock for other individuals so they don't have to endure what she did. So, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But I just wanted to keep it nice and short. Um, if you wanted to chat about this at some point, obviously I'm available. Um, whenever via email, and we can set up a date to go over other narrative arguments. But just a reminder, I'm only going to take a look at your narrative argument one time, like period, to revise and edit. Okay? If you want to share it with me later in life, once you've submitted it, or to a school or to a I don't know, a writing class or something like that, and you just want me to read it to enjoy it, I'll be glad to do so. Okay? Otherwise, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hope to see you guys Friday, June 5th, former student panel, coming to answer your questions about college, the next step, what's coming, all that good stuff. So, take care. I love you. I miss you. I hope all is well. Take care.